accommodating us and having here amidst you in the middle of your prior scheduled event here. So we're very grateful for this, ma'am. We are in charge of the World Bank's Business Ready exercise, which is the rechristened version of what used to be the earlier Ease of Doing Business report. So as representatives of the government, we are the nodal for on behalf of the entire taxation pillar. So there are 10 pillars which span across ministries. And for the finance ministry, we are the nodal authority, the tax policy research unit. We have reached out to you with a request. We will be sharing a tax questionnaire on behalf of the World Bank. And as Ms. Bhavna from the DPIIT will take us through her short presentation, the expectations that we have from the entire grouping of experts here, tax experts. So basically, when the World Bank ranks India, the way perception exists of the government's policies in the minds of tax experts, which is this esteemed gathering in India, the CAs, it will have a tremendous impact on the final outcome, on the ranking of the country. So it will be anonymous for all of us. So the government will not know who the World Bank team will reach out to for getting the feedback on, but the questionnaire remains the same. So if we can choose to collaborate on getting a sense on where we need to work on from the government side and from as part of the government, where we can convey a message that certain changes have been made or are in the pipeline to be made, it will make it a two-way traffic. So it eventually benefits the government and the private industry when the World Bank eventually ranks us. And the ranking is scheduled to be released for India in the year 2026. However, the exercise that will lead to the ranking is already underway. So with this brief idea, I and my colleague Katyayani from the Tax Policy Research Unit, we are very much happy to be here again. I reiterate that, and we look forward to Ms. Bhavna's presentation. And just a note, DPIIT is the nodal on behalf of all the ministries in Government of India, which liaisons with the World Bank team in Washington. So Ms. Bhavna, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I extend a very warm welcome to everyone present here. Thank you for your willing participation in the workshop, focusing on World Bank Business Ready Framework Assessment. So our Honorable Prime Minister has on several occasions emphasized on making India globally attractive destination for investments and innovation. Several active endeavors have been undertaken by the government and supported by other key stakeholders to build India's attractiveness for foreign investments and international trade. So, as you might be aware, World Bank launched Doing Business Report in 2002 to assess business environment of an economy. So, India over the period of 2014 to 2019 made significant improvement in the ranking, and India's ranking improved by 79 ranks from 142 in 2014 to 63 in 2019. So DBR was discontinued in 2020, and there were indicators, and one of the indicators was paying taxes. And in that indicator, World Bank was assessing corporate tax, social security tax, and indirect tax. So World Bank launched a new framework to assess the business life cycle and made the quantitative assessment of businesses. So data collection would be made through surveys and expert consultations. Expert consultations will be started in September 25, and the survey which would be undertaken with firm has already been started. So the process has already been started for the survey. It is a part of third report. Be Ready will be launched in 3 phases, and the first report has already been launched in October 24, and the third report will be launched in October 26, and it is a part of third report. So there are 10 topics in the Be Ready framework, and one of the topic is taxation. There are around 1100 plus questions in the overall framework, and in the taxation topic, around 60 to 70 questions are there, where the data collection would be undertaken from experts. So there are 3 cross-cutting themes across which data will be collected. Be Ready is going to assess how much the gender participation in the economy, whether the taxes are available for environmental provisions, or whether our systems are automatically updated, or interoperability to check adoption of digital technology. There are three pillars across all the topics, which is regulatory framework, public services, and efficiency. In the first pillar, uh, World Bank is going to assess the rules and regulations that firm must follow to particularly relating to the taxation. And in the second pillar, public services, where the World Bank will assess the institutional mechanism in an economy to implement those regulatory frameworks. And in the third pillar, efficiency, where the data will be collected, most of the data will be collected from firms, but they are going to assess how efficient the regulations are and how efficient the public services and the institutional mechanism in an economy. These are the major assessment themes: clarity of regulations. For example, whether the regulations are available for private binding rulings and its publication, restrictions in the regulations, risk-based approvals, whether the approvals are provided based on the risk categories, digitization and interoperability, whether the automatic updation of information or the pre-filled forms are available or not, institutional framework, transparency in the process, for example, data publication relating to statistics, staff composition in the tax administration, and those statistics is published in for the public domain. So this is the taxation topic where World Bank will assess corporate income tax, consumption tax, environmental tax, and social security tax and contribution. So majorly data will be collected for larger city, that is Delhi, and experts are going to World Bank will ask the experts on the situation specifically relating to the Delhi. Uh, and also the tax residents of the economy will be assessed. These are the assumptions or the parameters which the World Bank will focus on. So these are the pillars, pillar 1, 2, and 3, where quality of regulations in the administrative procedure, environmental taxes will be assessed, and for public services, digital services, tax audits, and integration in tax administration and its transparency will be assessed. So for pillar 3, firms are going to be surveyed for how much time it takes to comply with the regulations, to file the return, to make payments, and for audits. And also, World Bank will assess the financial burden in terms of how much time it takes to review tax disputes or how much time it takes to get the refund from the government. These are the type of experts which the World Bank would consult for pillar 1 and 2. Tax advisor, consultants, accountants, and auditors. Since the area of assessment is relating to taxation, uh, so so Department of Revenue and DPIIT asked ICI because most of the CAs make these type of compliances, and World Bank will ask them for the assessment. Thank you. This session is an endeavor to further expand understanding from the point of experts and also on the ease of doing business and taxation topics. So we would like to have an active dialogue between the government and all the private sector and the experts present here. And we would also like to have a Q&A session. If anyone have any question, we would happy to answer.
Yeah. So I think a little bit of context to this is the ease of doing business index is now being taken up as the Be Ready program. So the government is essentially reaching out to all the chartered accountants who are considered to be the tax experts to give them suggestions. There is a questionnaire which has been circulated by World Bank where the taxation part is going to cover 60 questions. And these 60 questions need to be taken up. The questionnaire is going to be shot out anonymously by World Bank. So any of us may receive it, and we have to essentially answer these questions, the replies which are going to enable some policy changes to be brought in by the government. That is why we have Katyayani and Abhishek sir here. They are working with the Department of Revenue in collaboration with the World Bank to bring in this Be Ready program, this Ready program, which was earlier the ease of doing business. So once these policy changes come in, what happens, the ease of doing business index which we had will be released as the Be Ready index, which is going to attract more of investment inflow into the country. So that is the main objective of this exercise, along with which there are going to be some policy changes which are going to be brought in based on whatever is the recommendations that we as tax experts are going to be giving. So if anyone here has any questions regarding the program, the Be Ready study which the World Bank is doing, or what is it, how we are going to get the, what is the type of impact that this study is going to have, please feel free to ask the two experts who are actually doing the program, initiated the program. They're doing the outreach across the country with all the chartered accountants and across all the major cities and councils in India. So over to you. So please do feel free to ask the questions. Because, basically, I feel that we as chartered accountants are the people who are actually going to drive the country to the 40 trillion economy. At least 35 trillion will be our contribution, right? 5 trillion maybe by somebody else. So being the actual contributors to this, I think that we should be open about what are the problems which we are facing and how we and the government can hold each other's hand towards this journey. So please do feel free to ask your question. Anyone? The questionnaire is not open. I mean, it will be circulated. It will be circulated, right? So maybe you just want to talk something about this Be Ready initiative. Just a little bit of context setting so that
Good evening. So, as shared by Bhavna as well as by Abhishek sir, this questionnaire is by the World Bank. The earlier the EODB, the Ease of Doing Business questionnaire, is now termed the Be Ready questionnaire, which translates to Business Ready. And this questionnaire is available in the open domain on the World Bank website. We'll also be sharing the questionnaire with SIRC on email, and we would really want feedback from all of you. We would request feedback on two, three areas. One is, of course, this questionnaire and where you feel that probably a policy reform can be brought in. Uh, Another part is to understand where the policy reform is there, but you feel that a lot of awareness is not there about that policy reform. In case that is the case, we'll be working on that. And apart from this, when we look at something like easing the doing of something like how to make businesses, it's how to make it more easier for businesses to start, to run, and to wind up in a country. And of course, taxation is one aspect. As we saw that 10 topics, so taxation is one of the aspects there. So in case you have any suggestions, something which the government can incorporate, especially in terms of the direct and indirect taxes, customs, GST, and income tax, I think we'll be very glad to receive feedback from you. We'll also be sharing our email IDs, our official email IDs, and we look forward to hearing from you and we'll be sharing the questionnaire as well. The questionnaire comes with questions and a methodology and a glossary. So basically, there are around 100 questions, out of which 60 to 70 are scored. Apart from those are the unscored questions. The second part is the methodology. What is the weightage of each question? And finally, it is the glossary. So basically, a lot of terminology used is basis the World Bank terminology, which might be a bit different for us. I'll just take an example. Here, when we have a tax assessment, we call it assessment. But in the Western terminology, it's called an audit. So whenever we read a question on audit, our mind first goes to the audit which we are used to, the internal audit and the revenue audit, which happens in various departments. But that essentially refers to the assessment. So I would request and urge everyone to also go through the glossary, because it will give you a lot of idea as to what is being talked about. A lot of terms have a bit of a different meaning, and we really do look forward to hearing from you, getting suggestions from you, and I can assure you that whatever suggestions are received, we'll definitely be working on them. Thank you so much.
Dear members, Katyani Bhatia, IRS, and Abhishek Tripathi are here among with us today, and they've appraised us on how the Be Ready questionnaire is going to be. Further, then, any member wants to give any feedback or want to share their thoughts, you're welcome. We can spend another 5 to 10 minutes. And then we'll go on to our CP program. I think Pramod Jain sir and Rajendra Kumar sir will be just joining us. They are just on their way. We'll leave the floor open for 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes maximum, if anybody wants to share any inputs.
I am a member of the institute. See, so far as India is concerned, globally is tax high.
Hello.
It has also contributed to the inflation of the country. How far this new scheme going to control the inflation as well as reduce the taxes? Some of the suggestions are probably you can tax on the salaries little high because they are contributing to the inflation. And on the other hand, business insolvency, you should not allow just like that, because you have given tax concession to the industry while they were living. When they want to close it, you say that whatever the tax concession they had, of which at least 90% they have to pay to the government. This has to come. Then only industrial growth will be there. Otherwise, people will just start the industry and close it after 5 years. That should not happen. Regarding the excise duty, I think we depend upon imports on major products like coal, petroleum, for which some concession need to be given. That's all.
I am Purushottam, Chartered Accountant. I have got some comments about adoption of digital technologies. See, as far as adoption of digital technologies are concerned, they are not at desired level. That's what I like to say. For example, I'll give you some example. When ROC was, this Ministry of Corporate Affairs was digitalized, it was running very smooth up to 2012. In 2012, service provider was changed. Then we had a lot of glitches. Again, in 2023, service provider was changed, and we are yet to live up to the service provider is yet to live up to our expectations. Similarly, coming to income tax portal was functioning well up to 2016. In 2016, service provider was changed. We started facing glitches. Still, we are facing glitches. Then coming to GST software is still being developed, and I am very skeptical about testing being done by service provider before implementation. And I have got one suggestion to make. Instead of getting outsourced from the service providers, why can't it be taken in-house? Why can't we employ professionals in-house? And in-house development of software will be a better proposition than outsourcing it. This is my suggestion.
I would also like to add something to it. You are speaking to a forum of chartered accountants. Maybe, whatever is the portals, what
Hello, check, hello, check, hello, check, hello, check.
So thank you so much for the suggestion. In fact, that's exactly the kind of questioning line that the World Bank question advance we circulate, and you get to see the questions are in a very yes or no format. So which ties our hand as government side to answer in a yes or no. For example, precisely the kind of questions you have raised, sir, especially yours. I'll first take your instances that you've suggested. The policy, the lag in terms of experiencing the quality of the service may not necessarily be just because of the government. If I may put it very frankly, it could be because of various factors that are involved in rolling out and for you as a taxpayer to experience that service, that aspect of digital administration at your end, which could involve service providers, which could involve, of course, us as government side. So these are the kind of instances, if you could also highlight when you're giving your answers, it will make it much easier for us to propose a policy change wherever required, or convince the World Bank that somewhere the questions need to be molded in a way that reflect the reality. There is no question, for example, which talks about the problems created to the taxpayers on account of involving private players. It's a set of questions that only assumes that everything private sector is a panacea for good. Therefore, and also as a corollary, everything that the government does is with an intent to make doing business a little more difficult, if I can put it very frankly. So that question specifically for the involvement of private sector, if it could be adequately reflected in the response, it will make it very easy for us to pitch it as a policy, one, and also try to ensure to the best possible extent that we can, as part of this exercise, that your experience is better ensured as a taxpayer. And sir, of course, your points are all well taken. We will duly take it up at the forum wherever we get a chance to. Thank you so much. Thanks. So to that extent, in fact, when we circulate the questions, these kind of suggestions are more than welcome. We really look forward to these kind of healthy comments from your end.
Yes,
We
of
will
course.
circulate, ma'am.
Yes.
All of them, all of them. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.